So basically, I asked ChatGPT what are the 5 main values of music. And here, I'll do it again just for example. What are the 5 main values of music? And as you can see, it gave me these 5: catchiness, emotional impact, creativity, production, and writing. So what I did is I took those 5 and basically I thought I would take every single Kanye West song and ask it to rate it from 1 to 10 on each of those aspects. And as you can see, it worked. And I put it into a spreadsheet, put each album in, and rated each of the category for each album, if that makes any sense. For example, for the College Dropout, I took the average of all of those songs, combined it, and divided by the amount of tracks. And then I basically did that for catchiness, emotional impact, creativity, production, and writing. And I got a total score. Just to show you how this works, as you can see here, I've already done this. And yes, I did try this for Tom McDonald's White Boys. Okay, I was just testing it. As you can see here, it took violent crimes and it rated it for each individual aspect. So it gave catchiness a 7, emotional impact a 9, creativity a 7, production an 8, and writing an 8. Okay, let's go album by album. At first, we have The College Dropout. Its catchiness is at an 8 and is actually the highest out of any album. Its emotional impact is a 6.8, so lower than its catchiness, which does make sense. Its creativity is at a 7.9. Again, this thing is a bit harsh, so keep that in mind. Production 8.5, and it is still not in the top 3 for production. And writing is at an 8.4. The average rating for The College Dropout was a 7.92, which ranked it the 3rd best album according to the AI. A lot of 9s, as you can see, for writing. Is there any track it didn't like? I mean, it thinks Last Call isn't catchy, which that's fair. It's basically spoken word. It thinks School Spirit isn't catchy, and it thinks it's very much not emotionally impactful. A 3 out of 10. Damn. Through the Wire actually has 9 all across the board. But yeah, only 1 10, and that is on writing for Last Call, and it got a 10. So yeah, that's basically what he thinks of The College Dropout. We move on to Late Registration. It has a 7.9 catchiness, so it's a bit worse than the College Dropout. Emotional impact is a 7.3, so it is a bit more emotionally impactful than The College Dropout. Creativity, slightly less creative than The College Dropout at a 7.7. Production, it thinks it's slightly better. It's at an 8.6. And writing, it thinks it's slightly worse, but still pretty much around there at an 8.3. So what this tells us is that the AI thinks on average, Late Registration is a 7.96, which is only 0.04 better than The College Dropout, but you know, it's still better. So yeah, everyone who calls Late Registration underrated and who thinks it's very good, you're gonna like this video. We have a 10 on Gold Digger for catchiness, which, I mean, come on, I ain't saying she a gold digger. It has a 10 for production on Diamonds from Sierra Leone. I mean, if you're talking about that track, I would think the 10 would go on writing, but I guess not. And we also have a 10 on Hey Mama for emotional impact, which is fair. But yeah, you can look here through the ratings. I would say Roses also deserves a 10 for emotional impact, but it got a 9. But now we move on and we have Graduation. And let's see, catchiness, it is at a 7.9. You're telling me that Graduation is not more catchy than Late Registration, not more catchy than The College Dropout? That just confuses me. Emotional impact at a 5.7. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. Like, come on, you're telling me flashing lights doesn't move you? Like, it doesn't do anything for you? Come on, you're not for real. Good Life, it doesn't make you happy? Good Life, what makes you happy if Good Life doesn't make you happy? So yeah, I think it's definitely tripping on that one, but creativity 7.1. Production top notch, not as good as the previous 3, but still 8.3. And writing, it's quite a bit worse actually than the first 2 projects, and I will say I agree. I do agree with that statement. And it comes in at a total score of 7.24, so it thinks it's quite a bit worse than The College Dropout and Late Registration. I mean, let's look at the track list. We have our first track that has 2 10s, Stronger. It has a 10 for catchiness and also a 10 for the production. And we also have another 10 for the production on Flashing Lights, which I'm gonna give it that. I think that's also fair. You know, there's 2 misses on Graduation, Barry Bonds and Drunken Hall Girls. Well, this thing thinks that Drunken Hall Girls is worse. But yeah, you would think Homecoming, maybe the writing would be high, but it's an 8, it's not a 9, it's not a 10. But yeah, the emotional impact is just not there. It thinks Good Morning has a 4 out of 10 emotional impact. Oh, that hurt. That actually hurts. But yeah, that's how it would rank the trilogy. Now let's move on to 808s and Heartbreak. So catchiness, it says it is by far, with a 6.3, the least catchy Kanye West album. Wow. No, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. I don't know how it got to that. Let's look at how it rated some tracks. Say You Will is a 3 out of 10. Streetlights is a 4 out of 10. Bad News is a 5 out of 10 for catchiness. Come on, dog. That's absurd. That's actually absurd. Emotional impact, it's at a 7.1, which would be the second highest from the ones we've done so far. It thinks Late Registration has the most emotional impact out of any Kanye album, which no, I think it's 808s, but okay. Creativity at a 7, it thinks it's the least creative Kanye album out of the ones we've done so far. Production, top notch, beating out Graduation and tied with the College Dropout, but still beaten out by Late Registration. And writing, it has better writing than Graduation, but not as good as the first 2 albums, which is fair. That's definitely fair. It comes in with an average rating of 7.36, which means it thinks it's better than Graduation, but not touching the first 2 albums. If you look at the tracks here, it doesn't think that anything has a 10 out of 10 score for any category, which is just wild. Emotional impact, it thinks Streetlights is the most emotionally impactful song on that album, alongside Cold as Winter. Creativity, the most creative song is Welcome to Heartbreak. I would say Say You Will, but you know, that's not bad. A lot of the songs have a 9 out of 10 production, which it's Kanye. Okay, Say You Will having 7 though, that's absurd. That's just absurd. And then we have My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the big boy. Catchiness, 7.9, almost as catchy as the College Dropout, but it is tied with Late Res and Graduation. Emotional impact, it thinks it is tied for most emotionally impactful album with Late Registration. Far and away the most creative Kanye album, it turns out. At least the AI thinks so. Production, 9.4. This is insane. If we go to look at the tracks right here, every track is either a 10 or a 9. That is crazy. And writing, 8.4, tied with the best from every album, not just the ones we've done so far. So yeah, it likes My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Average rating, 8.3. It thinks it is far and away the best album, the best Kanye album. I mean, let's look at the 10s here. It thinks Power has 10 out of 10 production. It thinks Gorgeous has 10 out of 10 production, although only 9 out of 10 writing. Gorgeous? Gorgeous, have you heard the verses on that song? Monster has a 10 out of 10 production. Devil in a New Dress has a 10 out of 10 production. I think it thinks that Runaway is Kanye's best song, so hey, shout out to that. It has 2 10 out of 10 ratings for writing and for production. But yeah, in general, it loves this album. You can see by the ratings yourself. Yeezus, I was interested to see what it would think of Yeezus, and here we go. Catchiness, 7.7, so puts it somewhere in the middle. Emotional impact, 5.7. It's pretty much the same as Graduation, which I would say yeah. Not that they're the same, but that it's a 5.7. Yeezus doesn't really impact you emotionally that much. It's kind of just fun to listen to. It's good sounding. It's not really meant to do anything. Creativity, 7.3. That is crazy. That is a hot take. Production, 9. It thinks it's the second best produced Kanye album, which is fair. That's definitely fair. The writing is a 6.9, so it thinks that the writing isn't as good as the previous 5 albums. And the final score is a 7.32, so above Graduation, but below everything else. So yeah, it's not one of the Yeezus fans, I would say. It doesn't particularly love Yeezus. If we do look at the track ratings here, it does have a couple of 10 ratings. It has a 10 out of 10 writing on New Slaves, which is a W. That's a W opinion. And it has Hold My Liquor at a 10 for production, which is also a W. That's fair. But Bound 2, look at how it did. Look at what they did to my boy. 8 out of 10 production, really? 7 out of 10 creativity, really? But yeah, I think some of the songs aren't that catchy. Like Guilt Trip, I love Guilt Trip, but only a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 for creativity. It doesn't think Yeezus is that creative, which I don't know, it just baffles me. Now we move on to the life of Pablo. What a lot of people think is maybe Kanye's best. There's some split on it. So let's see what the AI thinks. Catchiness, 7.8. About the same as Yeezus, but not the most catchy Kanye album, which I would say I agree with. Emotional impact, 6.3. Due to it being more random, I did kind of see this coming. It's not as emotionally impactful. Creativity, 6.9. It thinks it is actually the least creative Kanye album so far. The production, 8.5. Top notch, not top 2 or top 3, but it still likes it. And the writing is a 6.9, not that great. It thinks that the Yeezus and TLOP are not written that well compared to his previous album. And the final rating, 7.32, better than Graduation, but worse than everything else. If we take a look at some of the tracks, it really likes Ultralight Beam. Like, it gave it 2 10s, a 10 for emotional impact and a 10 for production. No More Parties in LA has a 9 writing, which that does hurt. I thought it would be a 10 because that verse, okay, look, Kanye's verse on No More Parties in Runaway is ridiculous. But yeah, emotional impact lacking on a lot of these. And creativity as well. As we see a lot of 6s over the board, a lot of 7s on the board. There's even a 5 for facts. So yeah, not its favorite Kanye album. Definitely not. We move on to Ye, Kanye's self-titled album. And let's start off with catchiness, 7.3. It thinks Ye is the second least catchiest album that we've done so far, and it is in the top 3 least catchy from all of the albums altogether. Emotional impact, it thinks it's pretty emotionally impactful. Creativity, 6.8. It thinks it's the least creative Kanye album so far. I would have to agree. Production, 8. Also the worst produced Kanye album so far, which again, I would have to agree with. And the writing is at a 7.2. So it actually does like the writing on this album, and has an average score of 7.26. So it still thinks it's better than Graduation. I think the emotional impact on Graduation being a 5.7 really fucked it. Like, it's getting beaten out by everything. And yeah, no 10s here, not even on Ghost Town, although it does like Ghost Town. It gave it 3 9s. All Mine was pretty hated on, 3 for emotional impact, 5 for creativity, 7 for production, 5 for writing. Jesus is King. I wonder what it thinks for Jesus is King. 7.2 catchiness, the least catchy album aside from 808s and Heartbreak. Make it make sense, please make it make sense. Emotional impact, 7. It actually thinks it is kind of emotionally impactful, but yeah, it's kind of middle of the barrel in that aspect. Creativity, 6.6, the least creative Kanye album. Understandable, and I agree with it. Production, 8.1. It thinks the production is better than it is on Ye, but not better than anything else. And the writing, 6.9. Kanye's worst writing, which I do agree with. I actually think the writing on Jesus is King is very bad. Like, I actually hate it, I would say. But yeah, final rating, 7.16, the worst Kanye album. Thankfully, it got that right at least. It did get that right. And then we have Donda, an album that I think is overrated, but I still think it's decent, okay? Don't get me wrong. A lot of people in my previous video thought I was hating on it, which, I mean, I was, but I think it's okay. I think it's decent. But let's see what the AI thinks. Catchiness, 7.3, one of the least catchy Kanye albums. I guess, yeah, I guess that's fair. Emotional impact, 7.2. It actually thinks it's very emotionally impactful, at least compared to Kanye albums, which, I mean, okay, if you want to think that, sure. Creativity, 6.9. It thinks it's in the middle of the pack. Production, 8.5. It actually kind of surprised me. It really likes the production on Donda. I think it's okay. And writing, 7.1. It thinks it has decent writing, but that's about it. And total score is a 7.4. So if we compare it to some other Kanye albums, it's actually top 4. I'm not gonna overturn the results here, even though I don't agree with that, but okay. Let's look at some of these track ratings. It only has 2 10 out of 10s for categories, and that is on the same song, Jesus Lord. 10 for emotional impact, and a 10 for writing. So yeah, if you didn't know this, it gave no Kanye album a 10 for creativity. I mean, no Kanye song a 10 for creativity. So I'm baffled by that. I am baffled. If you look at what it gave 10s to, the catchiness, Gold Digger, and Stronger, okay. Maybe Heartless could have been up there, I'd say, but okay. Emotional impact, Hey Mama, Ultralight Beam, it doesn't fit there. And Jesus Lord, okay. Creativity, no 10s. 10s for production, this is a pretty big list, and it needs to be a pretty big list. It's literally production. It's Kanye's, you know, it's Kanye's strong point. Diamonds from Sierra Leone, Stronger, Flashing Lights, Gorgeous, Power, Monster, Devil in a New Dress, Runaway, Hold My Liquor, and Ultralight Beam. And for writing, the 10s are Last Call, Runaway, New Slaves, and Jesus is Lord. Yeah, good job, AI. You actually did kind of nice. And now let's look at this whole thing and rank every Kanye album. The most catchy is The College Dropout. The most emotionally impactful are Late Registration and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The most creative is MBDTF. The most well-produced is MBDTF. And the best written are The College Dropout and MBDTF. The least catchy is 808s. The least emotionally impactful are Yeezus and Graduation. The least creative is Jesus is King. The least well produced, the worst produced, there we go, that's the word, is Ye. And the worst written is Jesus is King, The Life of Pablo, and Yeezus, all tied. So yeah, here we go. If you want to look more into the ratings of the tracks, I will leave them up like this. So there you go. If you want me to use this spreadsheet to rank every single Kanye song according to AI, make sure to let me know. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Peace.